doing?
That was me, you, and who was that? That was shoot.
Oh man,
Now I'm.
this
can't
is
believe-
awful.
I know. Nolan.
Tim Nolan,
That's who it was. It was you and I and Nolan.
100%.
Yes.
We got after it that night.
Yeah, we did.
That's fun. Do you
Yeah.
still have that place or your
We sold
family?
it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had the 2-bed,
That's-
2-bath right
yeah.
next door.
Yeah.
And then we had sold that, and then we had bought the one next door, right? Like the in-laws and everything like that. So when we had the kids, they would.
Perfect.
Everybody was like had our own spot. You know, it was like, this is great. And so once we sold that 2-bed, 2-bath, then we were like, they kept that.
No
you know,
kidding.
we were
Okay.
like, all right.
Yeah, that's perfect.
So we went out and we had a great old time.
Yeah,
so
it was
that thing never got used though.
it's a shame.
I know.
It was
was
you know,
fun.
I get it. And we got a place maybe right about 2 years ago, I guess. We had bought a farm property in Wildwood. And it's cool. It's 16 acres, you know, pool, barn, that kind of thing, and a nice house. That it's, you know, the challenge is just using it enough.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's right by St. Albans, so we're contemplating like Chris uses it. I mean, he uses it well, but he's still busy, and
Yeah.
so maybe an Airbnb.
Right.
It's perfect for that. We might explore that.
Yeah.
Try to get some people from the golf course to you know, take their overnight stays over there.
Well, I remember when y'all used to have that place down in where's that? On the hill.
Well, that's where we work from. That's our office.
Is that the office now?
Yeah, yeah.
Gosh, that spot was awesome.
Yeah, so we're there every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's good.
fantastic.
So yeah, he kind of. I chose the better property to maintain. I kind of maintained the hill house, and he maintained.
Yeah, right. Those weeds are out of control.
16 acres to deal with. You're like,
He's on a tractor.
The sidewalk looks a little dusty.
I just use Roundup.
Well, we got Alex Vidan here with us today. These guys are reminiscing, I think, about their old B&I days
Yeah.
when
Yep.
they used to tear it up in that world.
Yes.
But then we had the Pinnacle Group, which
That's
was
right.
which was awesome.
That's right.
And we need a reunion soon. I can't say Pinnacle Group without remembering our good friend Bill Billiter. You know?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
What a guy. Just the
amazing.
greatest guy
Yep, yeah.
that you could ever
Very
imagine.
generous guy, and certainly worth acknowledging here. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so our prayers with his family, of course, and just know that he is always remembered and thought about very often. I mean, just genuine. So I want to throw that out there. But Bill was one of the founding fathers of the Pinnacle. I mean, right when he was getting started. And like, I just wanted to learn how to meet different people and learn how to run a business the best way I possibly could. And then Bill had a vision. I'm going to start this car transportation logistics company for the purposes of selling it. I'm going to operate it like a McDonald's. Every move that I make is specifically designed to sell it in a specified period of time in about 5 years. And then he's like, Chris, I talked to the right people. I just asked some questions, and he had a great idea too. I mean, when cars were transported from point A to point B, then he had an application that always ensured that those drivers were insured. So it really limited the liability and really grew with it. And 5 years later, I mean, I don't know the exact number, so don't quote me on this, but it was, sold like 49% of it for, I mean, let's just put it this way. I mean, he was, 50 million,
Yeah, a lot
whatnot.
of multiple commas.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what a plan, sticking to it, genuine guy, and just kind of
Yeah.
did the steps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put in the work.
Yeah.
Followed the plan.
I think something you know about a lot about, don't you know? I mean,
Hopefully.
you have.
Thank you.
You put in some serious work. Dr. Vidan here, just pioneer in St. Louis
Great work.
in chiropractic,
Thank
for
you.
sure.
Thank you.
St. Louis and beyond, and
Yeah, of course. I mean, I think you might be as big as Michael Jordan and across the seas. I'm not sure. Like, I've seen some pictures.
I'll take that.
Vidan wearing number 23.
Right.
You
I'm going to
know,
have my own clothing line,
no
my own shoes.
question.
Yeah.
Vidan, and have you ever contemplated the clothing line? I mean, Vidan, shit, that's like as good a name as there is. The V?
Just go with the clothing line.
These old things? I only wear these when I don't care how I look.
These are classic.
Oh my God. We are in Dr. Vidan's office, studio, meeting spot.
Yeah,
I mean, great place to hang out.
Thank you.
This is I think your third location that I've been in.
Yeah.
And
spot on.
talk about following a plan and executing when appropriate, and making progress. You're certainly exemplifying that.
Thank you.
And I guess we've known each other probably, I don't know if it's 20 years, but it's probably close.
I was thinking about that today. I was like, it's got to be like 18 years.
Yeah.
It's got to right around there. It's got to be.
That's remarkable.
It is.
And so, even though we don't see each other nearly as much as we should, we are able to follow each other. And
Sure.
I dare say I'm really proud of you. I mean, you have done spectacular work. So, we could go everywhere today on this conversation, but kind of tell us a little bit about your background, and you're definitely not from these parts, right?
No, I'm not. No.
Bayou boy,
Yeah,
and
that's right.
tell us how you got here.
So, how I got here to St. Louis, actually St. Louis, is I'm originally from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, right? Went to LSU, spent some time out in California a little bit, went to Cal State out there for a little bit, and then came back to LSU. And when I did, I met my wife. So my wife, Sarah Vidan, Dr. Sarah Vidan, she's a chiropractor too. We met in undergrad. She was going to be a chiropractor. I was going to be a chiropractor. It's like everything just fell in line. And I was looking at going to some different schools. And she said, well, I'm going back to St. Louis because that's where my entire family is. And I thought, you know what? St. Louis sounds like a great place to live because that's where you are. And that's exactly how I ended up here.
Smooth.
That's right. That's right. That was my plan. I was like, I'm going to follow her.
That's right.
And then what happened when you got here? Were you like, oh, this isn't that bad?
No, you know what? I came in with no preconceived ideas or notions or anything like that. I was just like, okay, St. Louis. Okay. It's going to be bigger than Baton Rouge. That's about all that I kind of knew. And came here and I love it. I mean, it's been great. We've been here now. We moved here in 2000. So we've been here quite a while and it's been great. And I love calling it home.
And here specifically right now, we are on Brentwood. Mm-hmm. What's your office address?
So we're 2230 South Brentwood Boulevard. Yeah.
And this place is, it's I've been in chiropractic offices over the years, but this is one of the most unique atmospheres that you can be in.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
I've been here as a patient, I'll say on the air, and as a certainly as a guest. Tell us about like what this open I'm going to describe it as an open concept. Maybe you can say it more artfully.
Sure, yeah.
About what's the motivation and idea behind that?
The motivation and idea. So we call it, like you said, like it's a semi-open concept where it has a table and then a wall in between. But between that wall, you can kind of go either way, right? So you can go, the wall doesn't connect on an end. So it's kind of a floating wall that's in there. It goes from floor to ceiling. But the idea is to make it to where it's semi-private for the patient so that we can talk about the regular things we need to do, but it actually makes it easier for the patient to kind of get in, get taken care of, and go about their day. We look at it as the vast majority of our patients are busy, and they don't have time to just kind of hang out. And so they're not here to hang out. They're here to get taken care of, chat for a little bit, and then go about their day and do what they've got to do. You know, they're either running to do things for work or their business or, the kids or the family, or they're getting to I got to get here, get taken care of, and then get to the kids' soccer game or the kids' baseball game or whatever it is, And so we get them to where they can get in, get taken care of, and make it as efficient as possible for them so that they have the time that they need to be able to do all the other things they want to do, need to do, love to do, all that kind of stuff.
Well, okay, today was my first day walking in your office.
Yeah.
My first impression of it, right when I walked in, and I didn't know about like any preconceived notions on what to expect. I just knew we were coming here to do this.
Sure.
And I immediately felt that it just promoted action. It promoted activity.
Nice.
If you're having pains, like because I have pains.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, good. This is a place I can get better in. It's not just like this is what's wrong. It's okay, let's try this over here. We have some space to try this over here. It just looks like it's more than this is what's wrong. This is how we get better. I mean, we're sitting in your office right now. I mean, this is not your, you want to put yourself into a good environment when you're trying to heal your body.
Yeah.
I mean, usually you're probably not coming in this office like, you're in a good state of mind.
Yeah.
And that's where you want to be. But that's immediately what I thought when I walked in the place.
I appreciate that, because a lot of our patients will say, and we hear this regularly, and I love hearing this. It's one of my favorite things to hear, besides the fact that they're getting the results that they want. The other favorite thing for me to hear and the rest of my team to hear is for them to say, this is the best part of my day. Like, coming here is one of the best parts of my day. Getting to come here and be around this environment and be in this place. I think that it speaks volumes to our team and their energy and what it is that they do to try to help our patients and get them where they need to be.
Yeah, it's so well organized. Like my recollection and knowledge about the process is the efficiency that you guys put in place here. Like it's, when you say people have stuff to do, it's not like going to a normal, no offense to normal doctor's offices, but you're not sitting around.
Right.
You get in the door, you have your appointment, you could be out the door in 10 minutes easily. And still make some significant progress in your well-being.
Right. Yeah.
And I think it's appropriate. We kind of dove right into Chris's great description of you as a pioneer in the chiropractic industry, but touch on some of the chiropractic philosophy and just some of the basics, because you taught me about it years ago, and I feel like I have a really basic but really confident understanding of how it affects the body and the mind. And so why don't you just introduce that topic?
Sure. Well, it's interesting that you even mentioned that, because there's so much to it. Like it's such a wide. So I'm going to go kind of narrow first and kind of give them like a foundation to build off of, and then we can talk about some of the other things or whatever else that it is that you want. As far as chiropractic goes, think of it like your nervous system is like the electrical system in the house, right? So that fuse box that's there, each one of those things controls something specific. This fuse controls the kitchen, this one controls the bedroom, this one controls the lights, whatever it is, right? Your nervous system is the exact same way. So that nervous system is the master control center for everything in your entire body. The brain sends a signal down the spinal cord, then out the nerves from there. So those nerves, those are the ones that are like the fuse box, right? And those nerves each control something specific too. This is very, very basic anatomy. This isn't anything that's off the wall or anything like that. This is like this basic anatomy. So there's volumes of text talking about how it is that those nerves do all of that. And so really what we're doing is we're looking at it as, how do those nerves function? What kind of stress are they under from either our physical stress, right? So old sports injuries, from car accidents, from whatever it is, old little repetitive traumas that we've had, micro traumas that we've had, to big traumas that we've had. It could also be from chemical stress that we have, right? So things that we eat and things like that as well, things that we ingest, the environment that we're in, all those kind of things, as well as emotional stress. You think about like emotional stress. Well, when I'm stressed, why do my shoulders come up? Why do I feel like my jaw gets tight? Why is it that these things happen? Whatever that is, it's because your nervous system is processing all those things. And so your nervous system is constantly functioning to make sure that you can adapt and making sure that you can do the things that you need to do. The problem is, at some point, that's why we get these things where we get like pain or problems that come and go. Quite often we'll hear patients that say, my pain comes and goes and comes and goes. And then all of a sudden now it's just here all the time. Like it just won't go away, right? And it's because of the fact that at a certain point, your body just cannot adapt to those problems anymore, can't adapt to those changes that your body's trying to do to keep you doing what you need to do. And so that's where we come in. We come in because we're looking at it as, all right, let's fix the problem and then show you how it is that we can prevent these things from happening again. And that's really our philosophy is, let's get that nervous system functioning like it's supposed to. It's the control center. Let's get it doing what it needs to do. And then you mentioned, Chris, about action. Not only are we doing that with the adjustment, we also want to support that with some rehab and some therapy and things like that. So we have our rehab therapist that comes in and does things to help out with that too, whether or not that's active or passive rehab, whatever that is. And then we can also give the patient home care things that they can do that'll take a minimal amount of time to get a maximum amount of effort. It's like I tell patients all the time, it's like brushing your teeth. You just do these little things. These things will all come together, be a positive outcome. Yeah. And that's all we want you to do. And so we put all these things together in a specified plan to make that work for the patient, to get them the end result that they want, whatever that is.
Yeah, I think the more you kind of understand about the body and the way it works, it makes you I mean, what the heck was God thinking? Like he had what an amazing creation. Like
100%.
as you are, you know, I don't know if the word manipulating, as you are adjusting, doesn't it? I know you might do 50 in a day, but aren't you kind of thinking like, isn't this wild?
Like, all the time.
How this if I like this movement,
yes.
I know you know that impact is gonna send this signal to the brain. I mean,
100%.
And you had somebody figured that out at some point.
Yeah. And you're not manipulating it; you're adjusting it where it should be.
Right.
So you're just putting things back in a line.
Yeah.
And nowadays, I think most people do understand that is the underlying premise of chiropractic.
Yeah.
Obviously, for a very long time, it was completely associated with the back because the spine runs down the back or different reasons.
Sure.
But anyways, it's good to get that just comprehensive meaning out there. I mean, what's something that somebody uses chiropractic for that most people would not expect?
Oh, there's a lot of things, I think.
I know.
Like a lot. I would say, what got me into chiropractic was I had multiple concussions from sports and accidents and things like that.
Which was what, in high school?
Yeah.
What?
So from elementary school, high school, and then into college. And then not that I played college, but I mean it as in like just different things happened, right? Yep. And so then I started to have headaches 5 to 6 times a week. Then I would have debilitating migraines once to twice a month. And one of my buddies kept telling me about going to see a chiropractor. I was like, I don't have neck pain or back pain. Why would I go see a chiropractor? Right? And then he was like, no, for your headaches. He said that he can help with your headaches. I was like, nah, I'm pre-med. I'm working at the hospital. I'm doing all these things. Like I'm helping out on surgeries. I'm intubating people. Like I'm doing whatever. I'm doing all these things.
Wait, why are you doing all those things?
Because I was pre-med in college. So I was pre-med in college and I was going to be a medical doctor. And then my buddy kept telling me about going to see this chiropractor. And then,
so as you were going through all that, you were having all these headaches. You were going through school.
Yes.
And how far into the process were you?
I was still in undergrad.
Okay.
So I was still in undergrad. I wasn't in med school or anything like that. But I was doing all these things. I had the opportunity to do those things like work at the hospital. And basically, I was trying everything that they had to offer for me, and nothing really worked. Right. None of the pills, the injections, none of the therapies or anything like that worked. And so finally I said, well, let me go try this chiropractic thing. One day I was just hurting bad. I was like, let me just go try it. And when I sat down with the chiropractor, what he explained to me about the nervous system, based on the limited knowledge that I had at that time being an undergrad and seeing things in the hospital and hearing what they had talked to me about, I'm like, this makes sense. So I was like, let's try it. And the first time that he adjusted me, I remember just thinking I had two thought flash, and it's total God thing. It was like, it was just boom, like right there. And it was two things. It was one was, I'm going to be a chiropractor. I'm not going to be a medical doctor. That's it. And then number two was, why don't more people know about this? I need to let more people know about this. And that's really where it came. So when you ask like those kind of things, I think still a lot of people don't know chiropractic can help with headaches. Chiropractic can help with sciatica, like back pain or anything else.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but there's a big variety. If you go to 3 different chiropractors, they may have,
of course,
much different ways. Thought processes, or not necessarily thought process, but I guess process.
Yeah,
a process to get to that end result.
Yes.
And one may work better with your body than
Absolutely.
another.
And I am all for that, actually. Whenever I have a patient that comes to me, comes to our team, comes to our office, we'll look at them and we'll go, look, this is what we see as being able to help you. But if for some reason we're not getting that patient the end result that they want, we go, look, maybe we can't do it, but maybe this person can. Maybe you need this. And I've certainly had patients where I've been like, we're not going to be the best fit for you. You actually need what this person does. Go see them. And I think that there's something that's powerful in that, in the fact that we all have different ways of doing it. We have different processes. And because of that, there's some beauty in that, because you can look at it and go, well, what's going to be the right thing for you, for that particular person, to get them the end result that they want? Because that's ultimately the goal, is get them the end result that they want, which is whatever their goal is, right? Like getting back to providing for their family, playing with their kids, whatever that is.
And that person could be a physical therapist, could be a psychologist, could be a medical doctor.
Yeah, we take care of all those. Yeah. Everything that you just mentioned right there, we take out all of them here.
Yeah,
100%.
It's maintaining this this machine of our bodies, and it's just like any kind of machine. There's a different. You might maintain a Mercedes different than a BMW.
Yeah, 100%.
But I kind of. It makes you think about how I'm just a little bit in amazement how this body will kind of and you kind of talked to, I mean, it kind of wants to do the right things.
Oh,
you
yeah.
just need to sometimes
Always.
get it in the right direction,
Yeah.
you know?
It wants to do the right thing. You have this intelligence that's inside of you, and this isn't, we get credit for it, but this isn't a chiropractic thing. It's called innate intelligence. It's the it's the intelligence that's inside of your body that does whatever it can to have you function and adapt to whatever you've got. And so this is a widely known thing in, kind of in healthcare or just in general in our bodies. And the idea is that intelligence is always working for you, never against you. And so when we have a cough, it's because our body's trying to expel the thing that's inside of us to get it out. Like your body knows, when you have, when you're sick and you're vomiting and you have diarrhea, like, as fun as that is to think about, it's like your body's trying to get that thing that's inside of you out, that it needs to be out. Now, that doesn't mean we don't need to make sure that we stay hydrated and all those kind of things. We need all those other things too. But your body is always working for you. Right. And so it's doing it because of a response to something else that it has. And that intelligence goes, hey, this is what you need. Let's get rid of this. We think of it as, I don't like these symptoms, right? Like, I don't like what's happening here. So I'm going to take this to keep me from having that thing. And it's like, yeah, but your body's trying to get the thing out. Like,
well, if anybody takes anything from this, maybe we can change the world's attitude about when they're sick. Like,
that would be amazing.
Stop complaining about your symptoms, our symptoms. Yeah. Start embracing the symptoms as the exit strategy.
Yeah, it is the exit strategy, and it doesn't mean that those symptoms aren't terrible and aren't fun, or or fun or anything like that.
What are you talking about? Those are just symptoms.
Right.
We're
on our way to greatness.
Deal. Right. Yeah. Getting back to there. Yeah.
I like that. Well, you're very obviously well spoken on all these topics, and it's always interesting to hear experts kind of describe their field, because then even if you have a basic working knowledge of the field as a lay person, then you can kind of readjust, pardon the pun, how you think about it because of how the expert describes it. So what are the things, like, I know you're in an office now and you're going to do many adjustments during the week, but what are the things you're doing in the industry when you're not here in the Brentwood office? Okay.
Most of the time I'm speaking. Yeah. So I'm speaking all over the U.S., all over the world. I've been very fortunate to be able to get out and share the message about chiropractic and what it is that we do with a lot of people. And because of that, hopefully more and more people are understanding what chiropractic is and what it is that it can do to help them, just like it helped me. That's why I do this, is because I understand that I didn't know what it was all about, and I was in the field of health, and I would just want other people to know what it's about too, to figure out, like, all right, even if we're not the right office for you, because maybe you don't live here, or you're just like, I don't want to go to that office, I want to go to this place, or whatever it is. Great. I just want you to understand what it is that chiropractic is about, so you can get the care.
What countries do you most frequent?
Okay. That's a good question. So besides the U.S., across the U.S. and everything else, certainly, Canada, the UK. I've been to China multiple times. That was before COVID, but went to China multiple times. And those are probably the biggest ones. China, UK, Canada. Certainly, you said frequent the most. I mean, I've been to lots of other countries all over.
No, but I thought China maybe was one that you've had some
spent quite a time.
You have some great contacts in.
Oh yeah.
How does that come about? Or what I mean is, well, let me back it up.
Sure.
Who is the audience at these events? Yeah. Are we talking to other chiropractors?
Depends. Sometimes it's
consumers?
Other chiropractors. Sometimes it's the public. It just depends on what it is. So in China, it was the public for a lot of it. Mm-hmm. I don't speak Mandarin. People always ask me, they're like, do you speak? No. I had an interpreter that did all that and everything else. But I met with TV news stations. I met with newspapers. I met with magazines. I met with heads of state government. I met with heads of hospitals. I met with all these people just so that, because they don't have chiropractic. And what do they have? 1.4 billion people, something like that. And 1.4 billion people. And
who doesn't?
China.
Oh, wait.
I know.
Why don't we get Vidan Family Chiropractic over there?
In China.
I'll start it.
Listen, they were like, you should come here and you should do this. Yeah. So
where did chiropractic originate? I mean, I know it's
U.S. So chiropractic originated here in the U.S.
I mean,
and so by the Palmers. Yeah.
But I guess the word chiropractic or what, many of the philosophies from chiropractic seem to, predate.
Oh, for sure. For sure. There's there's other, there's certainly other disciplines that do things along that. So like in China, you mentioned, like they have bone setters. Right, so they have bone setters that are there. I got to meet one of them that was there, and they were
bone setters.
They're called bone setters. That's their
profession?
The translation. That's their profession.
Okay. So, I've used them a couple times.
Bone setters.
So,
bone setters. I thought those were guys like in the mafia. different set of,
different set of bones that they're setting.
I got
bone setters, not bone breakers. But similar.
Okay, so is that? Tell us what you know about that industry.
I mean, very little in the fact, like as far as details go, but it's
that's essentially someone that's spending their time adjusting to some extent.
Yeah, they're going to adjust to some extent, and likely going to be that their idea is going to be more of a from a different philosophy, different background as to what it is that they're doing it for and why it is that they're doing it. And then they might use other things like traditional Chinese medicine, like acupuncture or herbs or whatever else it is that's associated with that. I'm speaking from my contact with this particular bone setter, who is very well known in China for that, at least the area in China that I was. And so it was nice to get to meet them and get to talk about that and everything else. But to your point, Chris, it's like, certainly there's other things that do that too. Not to the same degree, not the way that we do it in the same way. And now that chiropractic is as big as it is and as many practitioners as there are, it's like there's a lot of people that need help.
Well, go ahead, Chris.
I was just going to say, so also just to switch it up here for a moment, you're married.
Yes.
Your wife is also a chiropractor.
She is, yeah.
And you guys are obviously here together. She's here.
Oh, yeah.
And today you guys are not taking patients today, but there's office work, things to do, apparently.
Yeah.
So, I mean, not me. I would love to work with my spouse every day, all day. And I'm assuming your marriage, is similar because you do that. But, there's got to be some secret to that, probably. I don't know if that's, not everybody could do it. Some people are better at it. Some people want space. Some people, it just depends. But does it work well for you?
Yeah, for us it works great. Yeah, and I can, to your point, I would say that it's not for everybody, right? Like everybody doesn't want that or doesn't, or they don't feel like they would work well in that type of environment. All I can say is that for us, it works out great. And for us, what we did was we figure it out early on. We worked to figure out what is the thing that each one of us is great at, and what is it the thing that the other person isn't as good at? Right. And we take ownership of that thing. So you're great at that. You're in charge of that thing. You're great at that. So you're going to take charge of that thing. And we don't step on each other's toes. We have an 80-20 rule on all of it. It's like, all right, you're in charge of it. I'm still owner. You're still owner. We're going to figure this out together, but you're in charge of that thing. I might give you 20% feedback on some of those things. And eventually it just gets to the point where it's like that person's just doing it 100%. Right. The other person has no say
like, what are you going to say to me? I already know. But if they do have a good idea, then great.
Sure.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is, and usually and hopefully the thing that you do the best is the thing you like the most. And that's when it works the best.
Yes, that is always the goal. Right. Yeah. Keep doing the thing that you love the best, that you're the best at, that you have the most in-depth knowledge on, and that you can give the most to for the company, for the family, for whatever it is, right? And so if you can focus on that thing that you love and that you're great at, then it's gold.
Again, that's just another really basic idea. Yeah. But what are the chances that the world could embrace that at home too?
Oh, for sure.
The husband and wife are the owners of that unit, or that relationship, and we're not equally made, and so what if we could embrace that idea at home? I get now, putting a lot of pressure on us because it's too easy. That's good.
You got to remind yourself, and then the key is, I guess, you got to take steps right then and there. Like if you could take steps right then and there towards that,
that's
then
great.
You could make a little bit of progress.
For sure. Actions are awarded 100%.
Right.
So it's like take action.
Well, I've known you for, like I said, a couple decades. Like you're a faith-filled man, and I know that's a big part of your life and has been as long as I've known you. So, can you talk to that? How does that influence your work and your family life?
Oh, I mean, it influences every part of it. I mean, I don't know how. It's just so ingrained.
Is there anything, without getting into anything too private, but are there any routines or habits that you use that you kind of attribute a lot of your peace or happiness to, or even success? If
and
you
maybe
want to
any that you noticed that didn't work well.
Yeah. I would say probably one of the greatest things that we've done, and this is going to sound very simple, and simple isn't always easy, right? But it's one of those things where we found that for us as a family, having dinner together every night that we possibly could, barring that there's no a game or a practice that we had to be at, right? Or if we can push dinner a little later, we can make it happen earlier, like those kind of things. That made a huge difference for us. And we pray, I would say, about 100% of the time, before dinner and everything like that. We have the kids do those things. We have them pray too, and we've always had them do that as well. I feel like just having that to where the aspects of bringing God into your daily life, whatever that looks like for you, I feel like that makes a big difference. So that's made all the difference for us, like praying on a regular, having the family understand it, asking those hard questions, having those hard conversations, right? And not being afraid to say, because look, let's face it, I don't want to speak for anybody else. I'll say just for me, that as being the dad, the man of the house, right? You're supposed to have the answers. And I don't always have all the answers, right? And so that's where the partnership with my wife, having it to where she has the answers too, or if neither of us does, was like, that's a great question. We should probably find that out. Yeah. Let's look that up. Let's find out together when the kids ask these questions and when we have that. But then when we're a team doing these things together, it actually, you mentioned about pressure, like it takes the pressure off of you to know that we're in this together and we can do this together, and we as a family can do these things together, because if we don't figure this out together, we know that it's not going to happen. Yep. So we have to figure this out together, whatever those questions are.
And like you had mentioned with your faith and whatnot, and it takes the pressure off because God would have the answer.
Oh, 100%.
So that's like that.
Great.
I loved what you were saying there. It's like, I don't have all the answers as a dad. And with the faith, it's like, but I mean, I could refer to something that has all the answers, but we just got to figure it out, and usually you know what the right thing is. Not always.
No, but I feel like we know what the right thing is. We might not know how to express that fully, or we might not know the right way to convey it, but we know, like, I just know this is the right thing. And as long as I feel like if I can do the right thing, then I feel like, all right, that's going to be okay. We're going to be all right.
Right. You can definitely live with your decisions.
Yes.
At that point.
Yes.
I knew there was a chance.
Right. I did the best that I could with the information that I had, and I actually did the right thing. Okay.
Some days you're probably meeting with 50 people, and some days you might be meeting with 10 people, but you're often meeting with, people for very short interactions, right? Yeah. In work.
Yeah.
And, but my recollection of being your patient is, somehow you always knew something about me that was a detail, and it was able to be identified. And hopefully none of your patients are listening and have a high expectation of you on Monday, but
well, hopefully they say the same thing as you too.
What are some of the tricks of that?
I don't feel like it's a trick or a strategy. I actually like people, and I like to. Yeah,
tell us more.
When I wake up today, I'm going to like people.
It's a mantra. You just have to keep saying no.
But it is.
You're a genuine guy.
I mean, you two are very personable people, and you know what I mean. It's like I find that I like people, and I like to get to know things about people. And the more that I get to know about them, it's like I feel like I get a little glimpse into their life, whatever that is. And I enjoy that. And it actually feeds me by understanding more about them. And then it also helps me in understanding things that maybe they told me 4 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, that they do, and then they say, hey, I'm having problems with this. Have you noticed? And I'll be like, yeah, that thing you told me 6 weeks ago that you like to do, and I told you about not or doing it this way or that way, and like, oh, yeah.
I was just going to ask something about that, because I feel like when you get some of the small talk from patients, it generates some conclusions for you, like, well, yeah, no wonder you're struggling. Like I said, let's not do that.
Right.
And then there's a quote unquote bedside manner required, right?
Yeah.
To be direct.
Yeah.
Because only direct is effective.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, I didn't know that's what you meant. I couldn't, cut the lawnmower with scissors or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you have to find a way to present it that's not insulting,
Right.
but like hopefully next week things are better.
Well, I feel like it's my job as the doctor to tell them the truth, whatever that is, right?
Right.
It's my job. And it's up to them what they want to do with that. Of course, there's specific ways I can do it and make it to where it's more tactful or more palpable. But I find that me actually saying that is actually me caring for them.
Yep.
Because I wouldn't say it if I didn't care, right? So if somebody came to you and they said something that was a problem and you knew the answer to it and you were just like, yeah, and you just kind of walked away, it's like, well, you probably don't care about that person really. But if they said something and you took your time and you stopped and you said, hey, can I just explain one thing to you real quick about what you just said that might be helpful to save you from whatever that is? That's you caring about that person. And I find it's not trying to like do anything other than like have a heart for that person and being able to serve them however I best can. That's really what it comes down to for me. And so if I know something that I'm like, well, this person over here can help you, or that person over there can help you with that particular thing, or you need to see that person, or we need to get you this imaging. And I know no one has ordered this yet, and you've been to 5 other people, those different types of practitioners and everything else, and no one has done this for you yet. But I want to make sure that we do this because that's going to tell us what's going on.
And also figuring out the root cause.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, I'm going to share here.
Yeah.
What I had going on was my ankle is getting, what the heck? It's getting like it's not doing great at the moment. And I'm thinking, it doesn't make any sense, I mean, always been great with it.
Yeah.
Always been fine.
Yeah.
But then, like, I did snap a muscle in my quad at some point.
Yeah.
And it's like, until I feel like until I have something done about this, then the ankle is not going to really help. Yeah. It's not going to get any better.
Certainly.
So finding the root cause of it, like you got to fix that part of it. And I'm literally.
He and I have been trying to diagnose it at work, but we haven't really come.
I talk about it. But bottom line is, I haven't heard. I'm the only one that thought of that.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Like I've told people.
Yeah.
And it's like.
And everybody's just looking at the ankle and not looking at the rest.
I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Are you not hearing me? And,
right.
And so I think the best questions are something, is usually the sign of a great doctor, like the best questions that can be asked, because it's always got to be a combination probably of what somebody's answer is to a question and what you could physically feel. Sometimes it's 100% this, but sometimes it's a combination.
I would agree that it's a combination of those things to try to, it's part detective work, right? Like you're trying to figure out what's going on to best help that person, and asking the right questions really leads to then solving that issue for that patient so that you can get to the root cause, so that you can figure out then also how to prevent the problem from happening and show them things that they can do to take care of themselves in a better way. That usually doesn't take a lot of time, effort, or energy. It just takes consistency, right? Like I find a lot of times it's consistency over intensity for a lot of things. And if we can just be consistent, we will get the end result that we want. So you mentioned about with the family, right? It's like, if we are consistently on track with these things with our family, we're going to get the end result. If we are consistently on track with these things with our business, we will get the end result. If we're consistently on track with these things with our health, we will get the end result. It's just about the consistency. We tend to think of it as intensity, right? January 1st comes, I'm going to do all these 50,000 things. I'm going to change my life. And in 3 days later, I've done none of them, because it's just too intense. It's too much.
As far as sports go, you're only good unless you're consistent.
Oh,
you're not
100%.
even good.
Right.
You're not even good. You could be like to have the most unbelievable plays out there, but if you're not consistent, you're just not good.
Well, it goes back to that analogy that we look at with baseball, right? It's like just 3 out of 10. That's Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
You know, if you can stay 3 out of 10 consistently,
right.
But we tend to go, well, I didn't get 7, so I guess I'm terrible.
Right.
So why even try? You know, it's like
so much failure.
Yeah.
And I this is a little off topic, but it reminded me because, you know, my daughter plays college soccer, and she said she regrets saying this, but she said it.
Yeah.
She said it the other day. I think I was at a game maybe 2 weeks ago, and she plays on the wing, you know, and the parents are on one side, and I don't know what I said, but I was trying to say it quietly to my wife.
Yeah.
Like, I wish she'd do this.
Yeah.
And and I don't know. She goes, man, I go, your second half was really good. And she, after the game, and she said, well, I think I do play a little better when I'm on the opposite side of the parents. And and I said, oh, what do you mean? She goes, I mean, I just, you know, I heard you or something.
Yeah.
And I was like, so I told her, I said, okay. I said to her the other day, I said, here, I think it was yesterday. I said, I'm gonna make a deal with you. You will not hear my voice at the game Saturday.
And by not hearing it, you will hear it.
That's right. In absence.
And she's definitely right. She's definitely right. But, and I said, and I would like to see one of your consistent sprints.
Oh,
you know, because
yeah.
I was like, she used to sprint all the time, and I'm like, I want to see a little more of the sprint. But then she felt so guilty, and she goes, no deal. You'll see a sprint, but I want to hear your voice.
Nice.
So it's good.
That's a good deal. That is a good response.
I do have to, one thing I wrote down that I said, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Okay.
Because I love the phrase, you know, if we are consistently, it's like we're providing the audience a formula, okay? If we're consistently doing X, then we're going to get some desired outcome, right?
Yes.
As long as the X is appropriate.
Right.
In your life, what's the non-negotiable? Let's talk about our bodies first, okay? What's the non-negotiable? Like, if you get this patient in and you know they're limited, in their motivation or their just ability, what's the non-negotiable for better living, better feeling? Is it drinking water? Is it exercise? You know, try to be as specific as you can, but you know, give us something we can walk away with.
Are we working on an injury, or is it just general?
We're talking about maintaining what God gave us.
Got it. So if we're not dealing with an injury, a specific injury or something like that, then I would say movement.
Okay.
Exercise is going to be for me the number one thing that I'm going to recommend for somebody, because it has so many positive effects. Just walking, walking alone, like just moving. They've done research to show, like, hey, look, you just by walking, you're going to decrease your chances of having cancer by 50%. Now, different types of cancers, but all those, it's like, okay, that's just moving.
Yeah, like
that's
don't
walking.
move with a cigarette, but you're
right. Yeah, that's not going to be the best answer, right?
Right.
Yeah,
even if you do, you're still lowering.
That's right. I got you.
But, right? It's like, okay, so that walking, and I don't care what it is. For my patients, I don't care if they love to walk or run or play tennis or play hockey or, you know, get out on the pitch or whatever, like whatever it is. They like to go to the weight room. They like to do yoga. They like to do whatever. Move.
Okay.
You've got to move. For me, that's a non-negotiable. And I don't care if they're starting from zero and they're like, I've never moved before in my life.
Right.
Great. Can you walk around the block?
And you run into those people, of course.
Yeah. I see them all the time. Yeah. And we take them from that zero to now, you know, doing different things. We've taken people from zero to like, I went and hiked this thing.
Now, did you write down like 5 of those things? Did you write down like 5 questions, or was that the question?
Well, I asked it in terms of, I thought we should start there. And then I didn't know, I think you kind of already... Well, you already answered some of the mental stuff with respect to prayer and communication with your family. But what about, like, from again, on the spot, but what about from a diet standpoint, okay?
If I'm a high-level athlete?
Yeah, and, like, if you just...
Oh, okay, just anybody.
Obviously, everyone's going to have a need, but I'm saying if today I wake up and I know what my diet's going to affect how I feel, of course, right? Yeah. So what are we consuming? What's the main thing that we should or should not be consuming? Just, whether, again, I make it simple. Is it water or is it, broccoli, or is it not cookies?
Two things.
I would tell you this. I'm willing to bet that nothing I'm going to say right now is going to be a thing that people are like, I've never heard that before.
I know,
but amazing. But it's true.
But it makes it, I think we do follow it when we hear it specifically stated. So
I feel like the best thing that you can do for yourself is decrease the things that are bad for you, increase the things that are good for you. Let's just keep it simple.
Yep.
So if every night most of these things get to be habits and routines, the vast majority. So I mean, if you know it as my habit is when I finish the day, at my end of the day, I eat X number of cookies or X amount of ice cream or whatever that is, consistently over a period of time, that will be a negative input, right? So why don't I make it to where, well, instead of cookies, I'm going to sub that out for apples, whatever it is, right? I'm going to slice up apples, whatever it is and then I'm going to start to make that my habit, right?
Well, I mean, why can this guy eat 150 donuts and he's just good? He might live till he's, and then this other guy over here.
Stop pointing at me.
All of a sudden, has these ailments from it. I mean, I guess that's the loaded, big, huge question.
That is a big
But
question.
I'm just saying,
because they're not moving.
It's what you're doing is, it doesn't happen often. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I was going to say each of us can probably point to one person or a friend of a friend that's one of those people. But the chances of that happening, we all know whether or not we're that person or not. I am not that person.
And you really can't add up what you avoided.
Right.
It's not like, but we've all done the thing like, I'm going to move this because, I think something's going to happen here.
Right.
And then, if that happens a lot.
Yeah. It's like, I can just, especially when you're parents, you can see those things like with your kids running around. You're like, I'm just going to put this over here. Right. Like that kind of thing. You see it and you're like, I just want to avoid them cracking their skull open by running by this thing. And I can see that happening, right? Or whatever that is. And so I feel the same way about food in the house or anything else. So I'm like, it's not like we don't have things in our home.
Right.
We just don't really consume them that often. Right.
And I'm the reason I think I'm asking you the question, I wouldn't ask, there are plenty of industries where the expert doesn't follow the rules of the industry.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I felt it's easy, you're a fit guy, you have great, like, you're not perfect like none of us are, but you have great habits. And so when you see someone like we've been fortunate to do a number of these podcasts and a lot of great people, and one of the guys I think of is the Hammer, and, a guy who just, you can ask questions of people that are going to give you basic answers, but they have more credibility. The basics have credibility because the speaker follows.
They're authentic.
Yeah, they follow the rules.
Yeah.
And so if they followed the rules, that's a lot easier to say, okay, that's probably a good rule.
Probably a good one to follow.
Yeah. Something I can adopt.
Certainly success leaves clues, right?
Yeah.
So we can look at it and go like, all right, if I can change my habits, it changes my life. So what habits can I implement that I know? Most of us know the general habits that we should be doing. Each one of us right now could be thinking, I should probably change that habit. I should probably modify that because it'll give me this outcome. All of us have those. It's just now starting to take action of each one of those little habits and be like, all right, how can I modify that? And it doesn't matter what it is, whatever it is for each one of us, everybody has them. Even the most successful people in whatever category you want to hit, they're like, I have these habits that are great and I do a great job about this. And I salute that. I'm going to celebrate my wins, but I'm also going to learn from my losses.
What are some examples with your kids? Like, what are your kids, what's their lifestyle like as far as just, have they adapted that lifestyle of chiropractic on a daily basis?
Oh yeah, you can't help it, right? It's like it's in our house. Both their parents are chiropractors, so for them, they're
trapped.
They're in,
or they have a great opportunity.
However you want to look at it, right? So we look at it as yes, it's an amazing opportunity for them to grow up in a household where both their parents are chiropractors that can help them with whatever it is. Now, are there still times where we're like, look, there's this lifestyle, right? Where it's like, yes, we adjust and we check them regularly. And there's times where they're like, I didn't sleep well last night, or this happened to me in the game. Can you check my ankle? Or this is going on with my knee. Can you check that? Whatever that is, because of different sports injuries or anything else. At the same time, they also live that lifestyle of what they eat and what they're thinking and what they're putting into their minds. And
Like, will you have a bag of Doritos at your house?
yeah.
Okay.
So I mean, that stuff's still there.
Right.
But do they get it every day? No.
Right.
And do I have it every day? No.
Right.
So like, okay, here, this morning, my daughter was going early to her school in order to, like she was meeting with her group. And she was like, Dad, would you pick me up some Krispy Kreme donuts?
Yep.
And I was like, sure.
Yep.
So not only did I bring her Krispy Kreme donuts to bring to all her classmates and their meeting before school, but I also grabbed, like half a dozen
if you
for the
want
house.
to eat them, eat them.
Yeah,
You know what's going to happen.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
he
look,
just
there's no
doing
guilt
some-
with it. There's
I
no
know,
guilt with
I
it.
know,
It's
I know.
He's just
literally
doing some business development.
It's kind of like it's like Pete on the sidelines.
But what it is it's this. I look at it as we are not going to be so rigid and restricted that it doesn't fit. And I think this is the big thing that they feel like it's all or nothing. And it can't be like that, because if I can't, well, I shouldn't say it can't be like that. For me, it can't be like that. I can't
if you
have
want to go all out.
Yeah, I can't have such a rigid lifestyle that I can't ever go out. If we wanted to go out and we wanted to go grab coffee and we wanted to whatever, or we wanted to go grab drinks or we wanted to whatever, like I'm not going to be like, well, no, I'm not going to ever do that again. For me, that doesn't fit with my lifestyle.
Yeah.
Now, does it mean I'm going to do that every night? No. Does it mean I'm going to have donuts every morning? No. It just means that 90% of the time I'm going to do the thing that works best for me. And then 10% of the time I'm going to be like, okay, yeah, let's do it. The problem is I feel like we go, well, 90% of today, I was good. So 10% of today, right. And so it's like, no, what if we did that for like a week?
Yeah.
If we were 90% good for the week, what does that mean?
Yeah.
And not like a full cheat day, but like, you know what I mean? Like we have different ways we can think about all this stuff. If we can just consistently
that's kind of the 75 strong. That promotes a ritual.
75 hard.
Or 75 hard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Promotes the ritual of all that, which is great. As far as the fact of it's because that whole thing is 75 hard is changing people's mindsets for so many things. And it is rigid. It's intentionally rigid to make it to where, okay, now you're taking your habits that you're doing and taking them to another level. And then you just keep exponentially taking them to another level, so that then eventually, yes, like once you get in phase 1 and phase 2, then you're like, I'm not drinking anymore. I'm only eating this. I'm only doing that. But you're gradually doing that, as opposed to from this day forward, I never will ever again.
Right.
It's like what fits for your lifestyle.
Right. It's too hard. Pete, I ask one question here. Do you have any opinion or thoughts? Actually, a question and a half.
Yeah.
Do you have any opinion or thoughts on the medicine that everybody's taking to lose weight?
So I will say that I haven't looked at enough of the research out there to speak intelligently about it. I do find that a lot of times and I'm not going to speak on this particular medication, I'm just going to say in general, a lot of times these medications get delivered to us, and we start to use them, and then it's a year later, 5 years later, we find out all these negative effects that those medications have on us, and that concerns me, because then you've had so many people that have then partaken in that medication, right? Let's look at opioids, right? So, and that's just one, right? And of course, that's one that is easy to kind of point to. But it's like, it's still like the Sacklers that invented it, like came up with it, have been sued and everything else. All the companies have been. The medication's still in the market, and it's still like 168 people a day die from taking this, and it moves into something else. So when you start to look at those things, it's like, well, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things that we can do without being dependent upon a medication to get the end result that we want. But to each their own with the information that they have. I just always say, for all of it, dig as deep as you can into all of it to understand what it means, and don't just go at and say, well, this person told me I could take it and I'm just going to take it. Because every drug that's ever been recalled was once put out by the FDA and said it's okay to take, right?
Right.
I mean,
absolutely.
Every drug that's been recalled has been approved at one point.
Approved.
Yeah.
You can't recall something that wasn't approved.
Yes. So.
And
you said a question and a half. I don't even know how to count what that is.
No, the only thing. Well, okay. No, Pete, you go, because I'll ask him that in a minute. I just the only thing I was going to find out, which I'll ask, I guess, is you, like, who were you in high school? And like, were you this guy? Were you drinking and partying, or grade school? I don't know. But or were you
elementary school?
Were you more rigid growing up? Or what's your background with that? Just were you just always kind of like, I'm good. I'll go a little bit over the edge here and there, but for the most part,
oh man, great question. That really is. So whenever I was younger, like probably 9 years old, I was fat. Like not just like, oh, look at him. No, I was fat. And so, and that stemmed from just bad habits and eating and everything, and what drove that to make those things happen. And so eventually at some point I decided I want to change that. And after years of being really heavy, after years of being in that type of situation, I was like, all right, I need to change this. And so I started taking action, and I started changing what I ate, changing how I moved, and just stayed consistent with it. And
what grade was that?
Whenever I started getting consistent with it, I started in 8th grade. So between 8th grade and freshman year, it was like a huge change. And just my body and everything else, because I just consistently was working out and running and exercising and putting myself in uncomfortable situations to make that thing happen. But does that mean that then in high school and college that I was just totally rigid? No. I mean, I still, I tried to stay consistent with the good things. I mean, of course, we all know when we were in high school and college, you could get away with a lot more. There was a lot more flexibility, and like I could eat this and drink that and do all those things, and still like, no, I'm still good. You know?
Go onto the field.
Go on the field, right? And then I could still go run or whatever it is, and just like, no, I'm not even stuck in wind. This is easy. This is great.
Not to mention, there's that country song. I might say it wrong, but it is a lot easier breaking up in the '90s or whatever. Everything you do now is filmed.
So. It's a whole different deal now,
right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's because a lot of people, was your dad? Did you have like a strict upbringing, or just like yours is now?
I mean, man, that's such a good question. I felt like it was before we started this. We were talking about. I'm strict in these things and not in these. And my dad was very much like that. My dad was very like, look, I'm strict on these things. These are the things that are non-negotiables. And these things I give laxity on, and I give you more freedom to do whatever that is, because you've earned that responsibility and that ability to do that. And the more that you prove yourself, his philosophy was, the more that you prove yourself to earn these things, the more that you'll get. Yeah. And I was like, well, that's good. And what a great way to reward a kid, to look at it as, man, I can have whatever I want. I just have to earn it.
Yeah.
That was what he instilled in me. I can have whatever I want. I just have to earn it. And that was huge, So, yeah.
That's truth. I mean, it is. And that's in everything. We talk about it all the time in this podcast. Anything is there, but you have to take the action, obviously, but and I'm not sitting here preaching personally, but I'm just saying, these are reminders that we're giving ourselves. That's why these podcasts are great to do, because you constantly give yourself a reminder when you're talking to great people.
Yeah, no question. You're among those, no doubt.
I feel like so much of this stuff is we need to be reminded, not taught.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's like, I just need to be reminded about those things and brought to the forefront of my mind. Like, oh, yeah, I used to do that.
People talk about the marketing aspects. Like, why does it matter if I do this or that? Like, or if somebody's marketing to me on social media, what does it matter?
Right.
And one of the main things that matters is, I think, I don't know, there's a lot, but basically you're having your life dictated for you. It's they think you like this, so now you're going down this path, and then you're doing this, and then you're down this path. So anything you look at, pretty soon it's just those 4 items. So all of a sudden that's your life.
Yeah.
So it's the same principles that apply to that.
No, you're spot on the social media thing. I look at it as who are going to be like the top 5 people that I'm around most. Now it's who's the top 5 people that I see on my social media the most.
That's what the thing is. Are you going to use it to your advantage?
Right.
Or
I'm either going to be used by social media, or I'm going to use social media. So which one's it going to be?
Yeah, great point. No, great point. You have to like say it out loud, or write it, or social media, or whatever it is. You have to say it out loud or write it down.
Yeah.
And then hopefully that habit, that repetition, will result in good actions.
Exactly.
And if
Yes.
you have good actions, then we can go back to the formula. If you consistently take this action, you will get this desired outcome.
Yes.
You know. Just as we wrap up, a couple little fire questions, you know.
Yeah.
So, what Tigers fan are you now? The SEC.
Yeah. So the question is, what Tigers fan? Because you've got LSU Tigers, Mizzou Tigers. So I'm an LSU Tiger.
I like it.
I'm an LSU Tiger.
You're welcome. You know, Chris, I think it's an overused line, but Alex, like we've done, I don't know, 20 of these, and I wonder what the percentage of people is that were not born here. I mean, it's high. It's actually high, and so you know, the vibrant immigrant community of St. Louis. We're getting the United States immigrants, but it's good. So
I told my wife she was part of the Great Missouri Expansion Project. They send out their young and bring them back to Missouri.
100% back. Yeah.
No, we're living here.
It's well done for her. And then since you know, we touched on the topic of food a number of times, whether we were talking about water, ice cream, or Doritos, or Krispy Kreme.
Yeah.
What's the Vidan, you know, family and or date night restaurant of choice around town?
Oh man, that's a great question. That is really a great question.
There's some good ones in this town, aren't
really
there?
Some good ones. Okay, I'm going to go with if it's the fam and just like a place to kind of chill and hang, we've got two spots that we usually go to.
Okay.
One is Circle 7 Ranch.
Yep.
That is
I've been there with you as well.
Right.
Yeah.
We've been there. So that's one of our favorite spots to just kind of go hang and get some food and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then Mission Taco is another one of our favorites. Right.
Another good one.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
for
just
sure.
and they're both locally owned by great people and that kind of thing.
Awesome.
It's like, all right, you know, like
Mission Taco, they've really done a great job expanding too, and both those places have expanded, which is great.
Yeah, it's great to see.
And what if it's just you and Sarah?
If it's just Sarah and I,
and it's got to be a nice night.
Got to be a nice night.
Yeah.
There's so many good ones too. Usually it's going to be some spot that she wants to go to.
Yeah.
That is something totally different.
Something to check out.
It's something totally different.
Yeah.
Like, so usually, because I'm like, I can find.
Yeah. You make it work.
Yeah. I'm like, whatever's there, I'll eat that.
Yeah.
You know,
Right,
I'm not too
good
picky
with
about
that.
it. Yeah. It's pretty rare that I'm like, no, we have to have this.
Right,
I'm
right.
like, yeah, whatever. Sure. Go ahead. So she just always likes to be thoughtful and like, do you think you could have something here? I'm like, yes. Wherever we're going.
Yes.
What do you think that you would like? And
Yes.
I'll be like, yeah.
Yeah.
They've got steak. I'm like, great. I can eat that. I can do that. Yeah, this will be great. So she likes to try all the new places. She expands my horizons with all of that. So
Proud of this town in that regard. It's almost like too many places.
yeah, it's fantastic. I love it.
But doing well. Yeah. Good. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Any closing remarks for this guy? I mean, we could talk for 3 hours. Obviously.
I just.
I guess he's got more important things to do for sure. Than sit down with us schmucks, but
the place is really inspiring, I would say.
Thank you.
It's really inspiring, and I know you've helped a ton of people in St. Louis.
Thank you.
I know you've been associated with the professional sports teams here.
Yes.
And just, it was a really good description of the chiropractic at the beginning. I think that was very important to get out there because I think most people know it, but you have places like this here and around town that if you're in pain, check it out. And I think you'll find it was probably worth figuring out an option. First of all, you got to move forward.
Yes.
Like on anything. If you're sitting there and something's lingering, I'm just saying it'll just linger and get worse probably. You have to take some action steps, whether that's going to see somebody or just changing things at home to start to give yourself some momentum. But anyways, that's a good message for me to hear, for everybody out there to hear, I think.
Thank you.
And
he says move. Time. Move means move. It doesn't necessarily mean walk. Yeah. It might mean just move your mind.
That's it.
And we appreciate all your advice and your time, Alex, and great reconnecting with you.
For sure. And thank y'all very much for having me be a part of this. This is awesome. This is a lot of fun. I definitely had a great time with y'all, and
great.
Yeah.
Is there
appreciate being
anything
part of it.
else like that you could share, like that you're just thinking, I probably should have said this, or I probably should have told them that before?
We have there's this strange phenomenon going on that when we end the podcast
People
and we
start
hit
talking about other
stop,
stuff.
the greatest content comes out. And so don't let that happen to you.
Okay. Don't be one of those people.
So you're like, God, I really want to tell them about something.
You know what I wish I would have said?
No, appreciate it, Alex.
No,
Appreciate it
thank you.
very much.
Thank you.
In an effort to capture the good material after we stopped recording, today I kept recording and captured Pete's perspective and analysis on the Easter Gospel. You need to hear this.
Yeah.
Hey, all right, checking out.
Phone is moved.
Is removed. Yeah.
So she goes back to the boys and says, something's going on here,
Yeah.
And so Simon Peter takes off, and then this other guy did too.
Yeah.
And it's drafted as the disciple who Jesus loved. He and Simon took off, and then so the gospel goes on to read that they started running, and the disciple who Jesus loved ran faster, and he arrived first. And then it goes on. They go inside, and doesn't stop there. They see the clothing, bundled up, and
Tomb's empty.
set to the side, and the tomb's empty.
Yeah.
And then they go, and the disciple who Jesus loved, that's how he describes it, saw and he believed. Okay, now this guy, the disciple who Jesus loved,
Yeah.
otherwise known as John,
Yeah.
is also the author of this gospel
Uh-huh.
and this story. And I'm like, I just have heard this so many times, and I'm like, how's this guy writing? So he's all about himself right here. The disciple, why don't you just say Peter and I?
Yeah.
But no, it's Peter and the disciple who just loved. I'm not going to say who it is.
Yeah.
And he ran faster. Like, where in the Bible does anyone run faster than another guy? And you had to point it out. And then he saw and believed. I don't know what Peter did. He might not have believed right away. God, he gave himself all the props.
Yeah.
And I was like,
He was the author.
I mean, unbelievable. Like this is Jesus' day, and it's all about you. You ran faster. Who are you trying to impress?
I want the record to show that I ran
Like,
faster.
how do you-
I saw first.
I
If
believe.
Jesus loves you more, you will run faster.
So if he's the disciple Jesus loved, then what are the other guys? They're just people along
Secondary
for the
cast members.
Yeah, cast members. Exactly. I was like, I just and you think about there's so many so many books, right? And only a few made it into the Bible,
Certainly,
right?
yes.
And so there was some group of people who selected the ones that go in.
Certainly.
And so there had to be some lobbying efforts.
For sure. Team John.
Clearly.
Team John's getting in.
John's telling everybody, I got something for you. If you guys all support mine, they go.
No, 100%. I'll do this if you do that.
I understand this is about He is risen, and I'm on board with that. And I just got really hung up on John's narcissism.
On his count.
I mean, seriously though, but I mean, if you weren't listening to the gospel as closely to recognize that discrepancy, not discrepancy, but that point, then, you really got to pay attention.
And I was going to say, good on you noticing, catching these things and
Oh, for
noticing
sure.
these things.
He brought it up on Easter.
Did he really?
Did anybody listen to the
Did anybody
gospel?
notice that?
I said it as
just
soon as I
wanna
got in the
make
car. As soon as I got in the car, I said it to my kids because I was really bothered by it. I
Were
mean,
you?
Yeah,
I was not bothered by it. Like, it didn't make me mad. It
Right.
just what it really bothered me in that it was more human
Yeah.
because
I
I was
would
gonna-
never
I don't
do
know.
that.
It's
I don't
exactly
think you
what I was
can
gonna
read
say.
it.
Never do that.
You know what? That's what I was going to say. I was going to say.
never do that.
What I was going to say is that I think it points out to the humanity of them.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Right.
they're still humans. Like, they're
This is
still
good, guys.
They're still us as
This is it.
we tend
There's
to look
pride, a little
No,
pride,
for sure. Listen, we tend to look at them as up on the pedestal of all of that. And
It's like getting Krispy Kreme if you're an athlete. You know?
Well, what I was going to say is that we tend to look at them as the apostles, and we should look at them in a high regard, but we tend to forget that they are real people too.
Yeah.
And they're real people that really live lives and live these accounts, and that when they live those accounts, they're going to write it, perceive it through their vision as a human too, that's inspired, but then also that that I think you
I mean, it does make me question some of his other writing.
Well, he's also the author of Revelation, which is all jacked up. Like, that's really wild reading. But then, John, maybe he is saying,
it's great.
Maybe he is saying,
great.
the disciple who Jesus loved, okay, and then you could say, and he ran faster, okay, and he saw and believed. So maybe he's saying, it's almost like a preface to the Pentecost, where they were inspired and all of a sudden they're talking in tongues and everything. So maybe he's just like, look, if you have faith, I'll say you can run faster, quote unquote. Like, he's so jacked up, like, oh my gosh, what happened? I got to see what happened about the Lord. And I'm running, I'm just, I'm filled with the Spirit, and I'm running so dang fast.
Yeah.
I hope Peter can catch up, because I'm leaving him behind. And then he goes, and I just saw and believed. Like, so maybe I got to give him a little bit. Maybe he's really trying to get us faith-filled, but at first I was put off.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we all feel a lot better to get that off our chest. I mean, for real, to put out there. But your interpretation is really good and wise, and I love, like, that is it. They're human. It's showing that side of it. And remember, like, if you're a parent out there, you can use that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Listen, just because I am showing you we're not all perfect.
Yeah, that gospel you might have to point to a few times, because to show the kids, like, we're not all perfect.
We're not.
Sometimes I'm just merely showing you that.
Right, because kids.
If I wanted to be perfect, I could. I'm just literally letting you know.
We're all susceptible. Kids can point out your imperfections as well.
Kids are a great mirror for that.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, kids are a great mirror for that. They'll point that out to you, and you're like, you're right, I did say that.
Yep.
I did. You're doing exactly what I did. You're right.
Oh, yeah.
Can you prove it?
Yeah.
Most of the time they can.
Yeah, but if you,
with their phone.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
Right.
When you do go back and say something like that, though, I mean, it does change things. I mean, our parents did that.
Oh, my gosh.
They would apologize and stuff.
Oh,
for sure.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no, I am quick to, and so is my wife, we're quick to apologize whenever, you're right, that was me. That was all on me. That was me.
I referee soccer pretty much every day, and the other night I had a situation, and I do all levels, so I could do one night I might do like a low level slice of game, and then or high school, and the next day I might be doing semi-pro, kind of thing. But I was doing a U18 boys slice of premier, so it's a little higher level, and this kid immediately out of the gate, and the boys were pretty good, but immediately out of the gate he was unhappy with things, and whether it was to me or a teammate or an opponent. And after the first few, I was like, hey man, that's enough out of you, and so then the next thing happened. These weren't like big incidents. Then he had something to say again.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to be like, I got to get him to halftime without a card, because he ain't going to make it through the game without getting thrown out. Right. So I have to at least get him to halftime.
Yeah.
And so halftime comes around. I start going towards him, because I'm going to say, hey, listen, you made it to halftime. Congratulations.
Yeah.
And I suggest you don't, because you're out of warnings.
Yeah.
And then I was going to tell the coach. I was going to tell the coach the same thing. Like, you might want to. Anyway, I go to start talking to the kid, and he immediately says, "Get away from me!" Like really mean, And
oh wow!
And the coach is trying to, and I was like really taken aback, And the coach tried to intervene, and he said to me respectfully and calmly, maybe I can help. And And I was coming to you, Coach. I
Yeah.
just thought I would also give the information to the player.
Directly,
And
sure.
But then I'm kind of excited at this point. You know,
Yeah.
I'm getting a little,
Yeah.
my heart's pumping.
Yeah.
And so I just said, he appears to be your best player, and it would be probably not a good thing if he's not in the game anymore. So please, whatever, take care of him. And so I recognized, so the coach did a great job. He didn't put him back in to start the half. He let the situation, get diffused. And even the other kids, when he finally did get in, they would say something like, hey, to each other, don't get mad at him. He's going to get to
He's
the
gonna
player.
get
Because the
guarded.
player,
They recognize.
the player must have something that triggers high emotions for him. So the kids on his team were kind of like trying to calm him, trying not to aggravate him because so I don't know this kid, right?
Yeah.
I just assume, I'm in another 22-player soccer match.
Sure.
But every kid is really different, okay? I'm getting to the point. The point is, I thought about this kid, and he was essentially perfect in the second half, but he didn't play that much. And the coach did address the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And I went, it's not really a common referee move, but I did go up to the coach afterwards and I said, I wish I would have handled that situation differently. And I appreciate your intervention. I appreciate your willingness to get involved and how you handled it.
Yeah.
And I learned something. So it was it's like saying I'm sorry as a referee, which doesn't come out much,
Yeah.
But that will, and God, I felt so much better because the whole second half I felt bad.
Like you were carrying it.
Yeah, and so when I got in my car, and I was like, "Thank you,"
Yeah.
because that you have to be you. It's not the selfish part of it, but I gotta say, it did feel better.
Yeah, for sure.
To get that off my shoulders,
It's amazing how much when and I try to teach this to my kids, and they know it. They know the mantra of it, but we try to stick with it and help understand it when we're in the moment of it. Because when we're in the moments of these things, it's harder to understand. But when emotions are high, intelligence is low, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like as our emotions are high, we aren't thinking clearly through all the steps and what we're doing and what we need to be. And even as a ref, you're trying to keep it cool and calm and collected, but it's like, man, those emotions still get to us because we're still human and we still aren't perfect and all those things that happen. So that taking responsibility makes all the difference in the world, right? It's like it just helps diffuse the whole situation and just helps it just move forward so that we can then all move forward in the direction that we need to go. So
as emotions are high, intelligence is low.
yeah.
When you're playing sports, the same thing would apply.
Oh yeah.
When you're playing
Everything.
sports, if your emotions are extremely high, I mean,
You make irrational decisions and mistakes and fouls and
You
all
see
those
some
things.
craziness when the fans are going, the coaches yelling, the players are sprinting, and if it's a basketball game, no basket scored in 5 minutes because
No.
there's wildness.
Yes. Yeah.
yeah. Well, that's why that's why they work on breathing and all the extra things. You have to. That's a huge part of the game.
Yeah.
I guess we could wrap it up, you guys.
We got the after talking done. So now,
We don't. That was our. I think that's the first time we've genuinely engaged in it on mic. So thank you for indulging us with that.
well, thanks for having me to be a part of it. That was fun, y'all. Thank you.